don't go into the marriage with that thinking it's gonna change.
Hey guys!
Welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, thank you for joining us today. So we'll be discussing a very important topic today. This is a question a lot of people ask us, and it is, when do you know it's the right time for you to say I do? Yes. And so before we get into it, I am Pearl and here's Jesse. You're married, so that's my husband.
We said I do.
Yes. So let's get into it. So babe, a lot of people have been, asking, how do I know this person is the right person for me? Or how do I know it's the right time to say I do? What do you have to say about that?
Well, I'd say there are several resources on the internet, and now we've become one of them. So we've put together 5 points. We're going to kind of break down like a general summary, and then we'll kind of give our takes on it. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get started.
All right, number 1.
When your relationship can handle internal and external conflict. So obviously we're talking about internal conflict. That's going to be between us, for example. That'd be between me and Pearl. So if she does something, or if she makes smart comments, or doesn't help me do something, or if I lash out at her or don't say the right thing, those will be internal conflicts. Whenever you feel there's uncomfortableness or maybe anxiety about seeing each other or being around each other, you can classify that as internal. The external conflicts would be if, someone outside of you two, whether it be family, friends, the law, school, anything that puts stress on the both of you. That we can summarize as an external conflict. So if you guys are able to work through those, talk them out, find, rational plans of action to deal with those issues and come out of the other side, for the better, and agree and not have resentment towards each other about the outcome. I would say that would, in my mind, classify and kind of sum up dealing with and getting through internal and external conflicts.
Okay, so what would you say is an example, a vivid example of an internal conflict?
Internal conflict.
Yes.
Let's see. So Pearl, an example of maybe an internal conflict. We suffered through one just the other day. So we were walking outside, and I was having a conversation with someone, and Pearl just happened to ask a question about it. Then I kind of gave her like a snarky tone, like, babe, you should have been listening. And she didn't like that. It didn't exactly cause anything at that moment. But later she told me that, like, hey, I didn't like the tone of voice and like the words you used. So in a very calm manner, she wasn't, trying to lash out or get me in trouble or look like a doofus in front of anybody. So yeah, I just had to kind of apologize, reflect for myself, realize that I did use a bad tone, and we were able to kind of move on from that. But obviously through that time, before she told me, it was a few hours, she kind of felt some way towards me. Had a little bit of disconnect and maybe a little bit of attitude. So until we were able to deal with that, there was conflict between us. So that's like an internal example.
Yeah, and then those happen a lot if you're married. So you should be ready to be willing to talk through your conflicts or your misunderstandings, because if you're not ready to communicate them, then your marriage is going to be hell. Yeah. So what is an example of an external conflict? I think one that comes to mind to me is we are interracial couples, so like hate from the public. If you're unable to come together and respond to hate comments or ignore them, that might get to one person, and that person might end up giving attitude to the other. So assuming that someone says a hate comment, I can't even think of anything. People will say, oh, I'm married to my slave. No,
master.
Slave master. Yeah. Right. So if I let those comments get to me, I could give him attitude, and that might push him away from performing his duty as a husband towards me, and that might over time cause a very what's the word? A rift, yeah, between us.
And if you let those pressures, the external pressures, get to you, obviously before you say I do, then you'll never get to I do. Because you'll be fearing and overthinking all the things the world tells you is what's wrong with your relationship. Or you may be scared to deal with those issues with that person. So you got to find ways to get through all the difficult things and come out on the other side still liking each other.
All right, so another thing that you want to make sure you are setting up before you say I do is if the both of you can agree on future plans. You want to like explain a little bit more about that?
So kind of quick summary would be just before you say I do, obviously you'll need to go through like your careers, go through maybe education plans, go through like moving, where you want to live, how many kids you want to have,
and how you want to raise your kids.
How you want to raise your kids, what churches you want to go to, all the things that you think might change maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. You should probably be upfront with that, and both parties should be, reasonably accepting of those changes and like planning towards those steps. Like, hey, maybe 2 years, I probably need to buy a new car. Great, we can work towards getting a new car. Or in 3 years, I'm going to be done with school. Well, maybe we're moving. So maybe we got to look at other places, and you can mentally prepare yourself. Because you don't want to go into a marriage thinking like, okay, so my goal is to stay in this town. Whatever my wife does when she gets done with school, I'm going to fight her like crazy whenever she gets done with school. That shouldn't be your plan.
Yeah.
It's just going to end up, there's a conflict waiting for you. You're just biding time.
Yeah, definitely aside, making plans, things change, people grow and things change, things happening. Your plan might not go according to what you expect. So you should be able to
be flexible.
Yeah, be flexible with it if it changes like in the future. But of course, it shouldn't be a change that will go against what the two of you agreed on initially.
Right.
Yeah.
But as those plans or as that flexibility happens, obviously you got to work through it, talk with your significant other or potential significant other, and find a new path where you guys can start going to, and try to weave it around the next direction that you're going. Or if it completely changes, hey, it completely changes. But obviously we don't know until it gets here.
Yeah. So a friend of mine recently asked me if it's okay for a lady to say she's not willing to respond to her husband's name or take her husband's last name when she gets married. Like, what do you guys think about that? Let us know in the comment section box. What do you think, babe?
I mean, definitely I don't think there's anything really like biblically for it. We're a Christian couple. It's where we usually get most of our answers. But I mean, heck, if both parties are cool with it and the wife keeping her own name, go for it.
Yeah.
If the man's uncomfortable with it, wants his wife to take his name, maybe we could do a hyphen or just talk things out.
Right. Right.
And see what's going to happen. And if that's a deal breaker for the man, well, that's a deal breaker for the man.
Yeah.
And the woman just she's going to have to get over it. So is the man, I guess. Because you don't want to have that feud or have that resentment in the back of your mind every single day until one of you dies or you get a divorce or you both die. That would be terrible. All right, so we're coming up to number 3. When you know you're committed and won't seek out another, or you're ready to settle. So obviously if you're young and you like chasing girls or trying to flirt with girls and you're thinking about you really like this one, really consider if you're okay not doing all the flirty fun stuff. You just got to be focused on the one girl. That's going to be the one. That's where all your attention goes. Don't be like side-eyeing other chicks and like trying to talk to them, especially not in front of your soon-to-be wife or after you get married. If you're still tempted in those ways, then maybe marriage isn't for you at this time. Maybe push it off a couple of years or just get some counseling to maybe figure some things out. But if you like the party lifestyle and you like going around, I wouldn't suggest getting married.
Unless, of course, you find someone who also likes to, party. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're both swingers, I mean, it's your call.
Yeah, but that is what we have to say about that.
Yeah. Make sure you're ready to be with one person.
The next point is if you are willing to accept a change in lifestyle, that is when you know it's time to say I do.
Mhm. So you've been dating for a little while and thinking about saying I do. Dating life is fun. You definitely have more flexibility still in dating life than you do in marriage, because generally you're probably not living together. So as soon as you are not physically with that person, you pretty well have your own life. You can go to bed when you want. You get to eat food what you want. You can wash your car when you want to. You can watch whatever shows you want to.
You can hang out with your guy friends or female
Hang out with your
friends.
male or female friends.
It's like
Back
do
around with work or activities.
do
in
all
your
the
free
cool stuff
time.
you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get married, most things you got to communicate. You got to agree on plans every day. You got to agree on food every day. You got to figure out what to watch together. Just a lot of things are going to change. Your complete free will is now going to be tied to another person.
Yeah, it's no more you. You have to think about the other person all the time in any decision you make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't make that sound like a bad thing. It definitely grows you as a person. It matures you. And you get to expand your personality and expand your character in a lot of ways. So there are a lot of perks.
All right, so the very last one is you're ready to say I do when your morals are aligned.
Kind of a big one there.
It is a big one for us as Christian couples.
Yeah. So if you are a Christian and you're thinking about saying I do, hopefully you've been dating someone that is a Christian as well. If they're not Christian, then obviously down the road, when you talk about planning for finances or how to raise your kids, or if you're going to church or not, all those are going to be potential conflicts in the future. If you marry somebody who's Buddhist, obviously they're going to be wanting to do things and raise their children and educate in a way that relates to Buddhism. Maybe do more like yoga set. I don't know what Buddhists do. But they're going to be doing Buddhist things, and you're going to want to do Christian things, and there will be conflict there. Yeah. If you're even an atheist and you try to marry someone who believes in some kind of a God, there's going to be some issues there. You're probably always going to be calling them stupid for believing in something, and the other person's always going to be trying to convert you to do something. It's just a big headache. So just try to make sure that your spiritual outlook or your beliefs are fairly lined up as well. Obviously, there are going to be some things, even if you are both Christians, that you may slightly disagree on. Or if you're both obviously atheists, maybe you have some scientific views that are a little off, but generally those are kind of minor things.
Yeah, if you're both Christians like we are and we still disagree on some things, just have to go back to the Bible and let the Bible guide you, because that's the word. That is what is guiding your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always try to relate truth. We believe the Bible is truth, and it has the best route for us and the best life for us, because we're free in Jesus, and it's a really fun time. But yeah, if we do have a disagreement, we try to relate to what the Bible says and let it speak for us, and just follow along. Just taking easy commands that are helping us be joyous.
Yes.
It's not like it's putting us in a box or anything. It's like, okay, don't go murder people. That's a bad thing. Don't go sleeping around. That's a bad thing. It'll only cause you harm. So let's just not do those things and be free in the loving way that we are.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I think that's all we have for you guys today. We hope you learned something. And if this was helpful, make sure you give a thumbs up to this video. And don't forget to share it with friends and family. One thing I want to say before we end this video is that if you're with someone and there is something about them, there's a character, and you think that they will change or they'll get better when you get married, like maybe a bad character, and you think they will change when you get married, please, they wouldn't change. It's gonna get worse.
Or a bad habit.
Yes.
Something like that.
It's gonna get worse. So don't deceive yourself. If it's a deal breaker for you, don't go into the marriage with that thinking it's gonna change. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
Alright, so until we see you guys again next week. Bye.